Hi everybody. In the last several videos we've been talking about Dr. Bredesen's RECODE protocol for reversal of cognitive decline, which has been a crucial program for my dad. Dr. Bredesen's team has helped hundreds of people reverse their cognitive decline, establish mild cognitive impairment, and Alzheimer's disease with this protocol, as evidenced in successful studies in 2014, 2018, 2022, and current clinical trials. On episodes 48, 55, and 60, we dove into Dr. Bredesen's anti-Alzheimer's diet, also known as KetoFlex 12-3. You can find an introductory brief overview on this diet on episode 16, which I'll be linking in the description box below. In these last episodes, we specifically talked about how central insulin resistance is to cognitive decline and how nutritional ketosis and fasting have proven to be powerful tools in reversing it. Recap. RECODE has multiple modes of treatment, but Dr. Bredesen's core four major areas are DESS: diet, exercise, sleep, and stress reduction. These four make the biggest difference in helping prevent and reverse Alzheimer's and cognitive decline because they have such a profound effect on greatly helping prevent and reverse insulin resistance and promoting insulin sensitivity. Dr. Bredesen's team has found that patients that have the best results on the protocol all restored or improved their insulin sensitivity. Insulin resistance has recently exploded in our population. Overconsumption of highly refined carbohydrates has led to an unnatural transition from burning both fat and carbohydrates for energy toward exclusively burning only glucose for fuel. As glucose markers increase and a loss of sensitivity to insulin develops, just like in type 2 diabetes, the brain's ability to access the glucose it needs drops. As the insulin resistance increases, this leads to a fuel deficiency in the brain. Less energy to go around for neurons means downsizing of function, and lowered insulin response is a massive driver of cognitive decline. And this is why Alzheimer's disease is more and more being referred to as type 3 diabetes. As a population, we are swimming in an ocean of artificially processed and manufactured food-like substances, highly loaded with sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and inflammatory industrial seed oils. Insulin resistance is central to our chronic disease epidemic, including Alzheimer's. In response to this, Dr. Bredesen's team formulated a dietary program based on very good research that promoted insulin sensitivity, minimized inflammation, reduced obesity, improved cardiovascular status, helped optimize hormonal response, and thus improved cognition. Dr. Bredesen's anti-Alzheimer's diet, KetoFlex 12-3. See episodes 16, 48, 55, and 60. Like we've discussed before, KetoFlex 12-3 is designed to get us into ketosis, the process in which our bodies break down and burn fat for energy as opposed to carbohydrates. Thus, we start to fuel the brain with ketones. Check out my interview with Dr. Mary Newport on episode 49 for a deep dive on the science of how powerful and healing ketones can be for brain health. To promote ketosis, Dr. Bredesen wants us eating a low carbohydrate diet, rich in healthy fats, moderate protein, and a lot of nutrient-dense vegetables. This switches our metabolisms from carbohydrate burning and insulin resistant to fat burning and insulin sensitive. Now, if we're starting the KetoFlex 12-3 diet and we're beginning to incorporate more healthy fats into our daily meals, it's important that we remove inflammatory foods from the mix first. If we continue eating inflammatory foods while also increasing dietary fat, we'll just amplify inflammation and insulin resistance, which is the exact opposite of what we're trying to do. As Dr. Bredesen states in his second book, The End of Alzheimer's Program, putting out the fire is the first step in healing. So what are these inflammatory foods Dr. Bredesen recommends cutting out? Well, there are four major ones. Number one, sugar. This is the most important inflammatory food to cut out. Sugar in all of its forms can drive up glycemic markers like fasting glucose, A1C, and fasting insulin. This drives insulin resistance and inflammation. Sugar is most abundant in processed foods and often hidden by many other names like high fructose corn syrup, brown rice syrup, barley malt, dextrose, sucrose, lactose, maltodextrin, molasses, beet sugar, etc. Some acceptable sugar alternatives Dr. Bredesen recommends are pure forms of stevia, monk fruit, and allulose. Number two, simple carbohydrates. These foods include all processed foods such as candy, cookies, muffins, cakes, breads, crackers, pasta, white potatoes, including fries and chips, soft drinks, both regular and diet, puddings, sugary fruit, and fruit juices. These artificially altered food-like substances and high glycemic foods convert into sugar very rapidly when eaten. It's best to eat a whole foods diet, real food, and to stay away from anything that's been processed. Think anything that comes packaged in a box. Great way to think about this also is to shop around the perimeter of the grocery store and mostly stay out of the aisles. Number 3, grains. This category includes wheat, even non-gluten versions, rye, barley, corn, oats, and rice. As Dr. Bredesen says, grains are often the most difficult food group to give up for so many people because they've been a worldwide staple and undeniably life-sustaining in other parts of the world where non-engineered whole grain versions are properly prepared and not eaten in excess by those who are physically active and insulin sensitive. Unfortunately, that is not the case in the US and throughout much of the Western world. For decades, we've been told that carbohydrates like bread, cereal, pasta, and rice should comprise the bulk of our diet, which has contributed to staggering rates of obesity and diabetes in the US and beyond. It's important to understand that grains in the US have been heavily engineered to be lucrative cash crops without regard to their effect on human health. We'll dive deeper on this in future videos, but here are some of the inflammatory qualities of these grains. For modern wheat, its hybridization has led to a higher concentration of proteins like gluten, gliadin, and wheat germ agglutinin. These are glue-like proteins that are difficult for most of us to fully digest, which leads to inflammation, gut permeability, and autoimmune activation. And it's not just wheat that's problematic, as all grains, including oats, rice, and corn, contain anti-nutrients like lectins and phytates that can cause inflammation and negatively affect our ability to absorb important minerals we need to thrive, like zinc, iron, copper, and magnesium. These grains can dramatically spike blood glucose, leading to insulin resistance and systemic inflammation. Additionally, many of our commercially available grains are GMO, genetically modified, and heavily sprayed with pesticides and herbicides like glyphosate, which has been associated with negative effects to our microbiome, disruptions of the endocrine system, the reproductive system, metabolic dysfunction, and DNA mutations that cause cancer. Please watch episode 51 for my interview with Dr. Stephanie Seneff on the science of how glyphosate deranges our metabolic function and opens us up to chronic diseases. Once insulin sensitivity is attained, Dr. Bredesen allows us to strategically add in small amounts of lesser known grains and resistant starches, but only for those who can tolerate them. Number 4, conventional dairy. This category includes conventional milk, cream, yogurts, kefirs, and cheeses. It's important to understand that almost 70% of the world's population is lactose intolerant and unable to effectively digest dairy, leading to symptoms that include diarrhea, nausea, stomach bloating, cramping, gas, fatigue, headaches, and skin issues. The main issue with conventional dairy is that the cows are GMO grain-fed when they should be eating grass and are pumped full of hormones and antibiotics, which completely changes the nutritional profile of these products, as well as making them more inflammatory. Dr. Bredesen's recommended dairy alternatives are unsweetened versions of milk from almonds, coconut, flax, hazelnut, hemp, and macadamia. For those who can tolerate it, Dr. Bredesen recommends we consume small amounts of the A2 dairy products that come from special grass-fed cows. So that's what we cut out. Well, what can we eat? That's for a future video. For more in-depth details on KetoFlex 12.3, check out Dr. Bredesen's blog. I've linked a great article by his Chief Health Liaison, Julie Gregory. Julie's website, forum, apoe4.info, is another great resource for more details on everything KetoFlex 12.3 and more. And I'd love to hear from you. Has your enterologist ever spoken to you about foods in your diet that it may be driving insulin resistance and inflammation? What do you think of this video? Please drop me a comment. If you found this information helpful, please feel free to share this video with anyone you think it could serve. And please like and subscribe as it helps our community grow. And remember, I'm not a doctor. I don't have a PhD. I'm a caregiver and citizen researcher on the ground helping a loved one, someone just like you. This information is for educational purposes only. Please consult your medical practitioner before implementing any changes. Thank you for watching. My dad thanks you. Hope these resources are helpful to you and your family, and see you in the next video. Thanks.